Spoilers ahead. If you don't want to get spoiled, go ahead and get the fuck out. So Takata, also known as the Crash Out King, ended up going up against the TRPG world, and he actually won. Now you may be thinking, how did he win? So the TRPG world ran off of a specific rule set from an Elemental Ward book. He figured this out because of the monsters that they placed on the border between the Dark Continent and the Divine Kingdom of Lena. Once Takata was able to figure that out, he then had no other option but to finally figure out a way to beat them. What he did in the beginning was basically conceal his identity and use the nameless evil god, killing paladins and making a mystery and activating an event. Because he activated an event, there was nothing that they could do with the Game Master's abilities because the Game Master cannot interfere with other events from other games. And of course, you can't find a murder victim when you are acting as a nameless god. And you are taking shape of Solina, Fene, all of them. On top of that, he would constantly be in their meetings getting all the information. He knew almost everything that everyone in the meeting knew. Once he gathered all the information, that's when he ended up actually attending and starting the fight. Now, of course, he started the fight by killing Captain Ford, and then immediately Arikina, Atsu, and Fene ends up going up and trying to rescue Solina because they think that Solina is in danger. But once Arikina gets there, Solina ends up impaling her through the fucking chest. Now, that's where you get to figure out, that's Takata. The nameless evil god Takata is able to take form of anybody that he knows their abilities of. So he was able to pretty much get the upper hand, kick Arikina away, and be like, ha, fucking noob. But that allows for the Game Master to get back involved. And of course he heals everyone, brings Arikina back to life, blah, blah, blah. Nothing really needed. But Takata ends up knowing the Elemental Ward's books and how much it focused on player interaction. The player interactions between the Game Master and the players were able to call for stuff like introductions. So Takata ended up calling for an introduction. Once again, pausing the game and taking away the Game Master's abilities. The problem is the Game Master doesn't know the extent of amount of games that Takata knows. And Takata has been bluffing the entire time, saying that there is a spell that if he was able to get the name of the Game Master, he could instantly kill him. Of course, this is a fucking bluff. He's lying through his teeth. There's no spell like that. But it allowed him to pretty much enact his part 2. His part 2 was pretty much to bait Keiji into giving him his name and allow them to pretty much go into the next interaction. But because of Keiji's prolonged introduction, the Dark Elves and the civilians of Mynoghra was able to pretty much go and attack as much of the city as humanly possible and was able to destroy a large amount of it, even used plague and made people forget who they were. And people who forget the fact that they worship a divine god have no longer being able to worship that divine god is absolutely crazy. So there is a plague currently taking over the city. They forgot who their rulers were. They forgot their names. They forgot everything. Their city is on fire. And that's when Keiji finally interacts after Arikina is on the verge of death. Solina is on the verge of death. Fene is on the verge of death from the plague and ends up giving out his name. Now, he walked right into Takata's trap. His trap was basically setting up where he was able to penalize Keiji, because during the introduction, both of them were introduced as players. So with the player introduction, he is now able to take out his full revenge on Keiji and stripped him of his Game Master privileges. Because in Elemental Ward, you were able to strip Game Masters of their privileges if they ended up abusing things. Of course, this came down to a player vote, and there was only 2 players inactive, and the one who gets accused of something is not able to take part of that vote. So Takata was able to pretty much strip him of his Game Master abilities because he was the only person able to vote in that moment. After stripping Keiji of his Game Master abilities, he ends up trying to take over as the Game Master. Of course, this doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. Nothing really special. He gets kicked out because he ends up trying to abuse the system the same way that Keiji did. But he was able to reverse all the things that Keiji did and penalize him and his subordinates for that. So when Keiji ended up giving his name, he ended up taking away the Mynoghra civilians that destroyed the city. He ended up, reversing all the damages, cured everyone, brought paladins back to life, all these types of things, bro. But since all of that reversed, everyone ended up just collapsing without a scream. Arikina continued to be plagued, and then Takada took out a revolver, pointed it at Arikina, and popped her in the fucking skull. Therefore allowing him to rescue Atsuyu because every decision that was made by Keiji was reversed, including Atsuyu's new alignment to the TRPG world.